अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मैं हूं आपका होस्ट अब्दुल मजीद मलिक और आप देख रहे हैं यूएमटी टीवी। और आज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं हसन कुरैशी। हसन कुरैशी एलुमनाई हैं यूएमटी के एंड ही इज़ सीनियर मैनेजर लॉजिस्टिक्स एट ज़ोरो। आइए उनसे बात करते हैं और जानते हैं कि उनका जो प्रोफेशनल करियर है वो किस तरह स्टार्ट हुआ, क्या चैलेंजेस उन्होंने फेस किए एंड हाउ ही इज़ एक्सपीरियंसिंग इट टुडे। अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस टुडे।
वालेकुम सलाम, थैंक यू, थैंक्स फॉर इनवाइटिंग मी।
प्लेजर ऑल माइन। सर, सबसे पहले तो ये बताएं कि यू वर्कड इन पाकिस्तान, यूएसए एंड यूरोप। हाउ वाज योर एक्सपीरियंस, व्हाट चैलेंजेस डिड यू फेस्ड एंड व्हाट वर द मोमेंट्स व्हिच यू एंजॉयड?
उसके लिए ना थोड़ी बैकग्राउंड बतानी ज़रूरी होगी। तो मैंने अपना ग्रेजुएट किया था यहाँ से कंप्यूटर साइंस के अंदर। देन आई वर्क फॉर ऑलमोस्ट लाइक 4 years here। उसके बाद मैं चला गया था स्वीडन टू डू माई मास्टर्स डिग्री। आई डिड माई 1 master's here in computer science and then I went over to Sweden to do my master's in quality management. I worked there for a while and then after studies I did my internship in France. Then I went back to Sweden. I worked there for a few years. फिर मैंने PhD में एडमिशन लिया वहाँ, did that for a couple of years and then I went to US. So journey was from computer science to quality management, which is process improvement and all that, and then I moved to supply chain. तो different industries change की 3 times। उसमें every country with the different आप कह लें background। तो जो पहले computer science first phase था computer science का, it was good, लेकिन it was like a lot of long hours and all that, and it was a rapid change in the technology and all that. So तो उसमें थोड़ा सा मेरा शिफ्ट किया कि चलें थोड़ा मैनेजमेंट साइड पे जाके देखते हैं उधर क्या है। तो दैट वाज लाइक अ चेंजिंग लाइक मोमेंट फॉर मी फ्रॉम द quality management to supply chain. Actually I started working as a process analyst in supply chain department. So that led me into different roles in supply chain. So then I left like the business analysis and the process analysis and all that to supply chain. So that was like a shift for me. Challenges आपको बताया कंप्यूटर साइंस में लॉन्ग आवर्स यहाँ थे और रैपिड changes in technology.
And was it sort of a dry subject, मतलब because
No, it was very interesting, but I was like I couldn't, what I thought at that time is like I cannot spend like 12-14 hours a day throughout my life. So which is probably not the case, because in the beginning you are a developer, you're spending more time, but as you grow in your career you become like a manager, architect, or you go in the project management side and all that. So maybe I was wrong in that sense. But उसके बाद जो process management में था, that's like more like a support role. Support role is good, but it's not as exciting as the actual operations. So that was a challenge in process management and quality management, that it was more like a support role. You're like always like asking for things. I mean, there are a lot of improvements that you make, but on the same time it's not as exciting as operations for me. I mean, people are different.
definitely they have their different views regarding that.
So and then supply chain is the passion. It's like a huge area, all the way from planning to logistics to procurement to warehousing to transportation. So there are like so many disciplines in that. So it's more exciting. Like you see like whatever you improve, you see the outcome very quickly. So I like that one better. So for now. But you never know. 5 years, 10 years from now, what else I'm gonna do. So, but overall, I think there's.
So we can basically expect a change in the upcoming future as well. If
Could be, could be. I have a passion for computer science as well. I do like some side hustles, some app development, like through the developers and so on. So I still have passion for computer science. It helps. I think the background that I built with computer science and process management and supply chain, it all like really helps each other and makes me like better.
and somehow they go hand in hand and you're working them. Okay, so what were the challenges which you faced and how did you tackle them throughout your journey? There might be some challenges you have faced.
Yeah, so आपको जिस तरह बताया कंप्यूटर साइंस के अंदर long hours, rapid changes in technology, that was a challenge. I changed my career from there. In process management, it's a really good industry. It's not because I did like the whole degree in computer science in the quality management area, and it was all the way from Six Sigma, Taguchi, and design of experiments, all the statistical way of handling things, plus process management, process improvement, and those type of things. But for some reason the work that I got was all about business process improvement. Uh, the challenge is again in that one is like it's actually it's a very good area to work on. Uh, I was little tired doing the support role, so that was like a challenge for me. That I was like, okay, I want to be close to operations and all that. So that was the challenge. In supply chain, it's a new industry. I would say still. I mean, 20 years ago it was there, but still is establishing. There are so many opportunities. People are working in the old technology, old way of doing things. There are so many opportunities to improve. So that makes it very exciting because it's not like well-established industry. Things are changing now. This supply chain disruption
And still, it has a lot more scope than other.
a lot more. Like this supply chain disruption that happened just like last year, this pandemic and all that. So that really disrupted the whole supply chain. So many things that we never thought in the past that would happen, but now we are looking into those type of things. So these are new challenges. No one ever expected that this would happen, and like now the whole ports are going to get closed. The container shortage, the package shortage, the driver shortage, the trucks and all that. There is a price spike because of all those challenges. People, they blame the government, but it's like global challenge right now that every country has, like even US has that issue right now. The price spikes are due to the all supply chain disruption that we are having right now. So those are the challenges, but those are the good challenges to work on. So I really enjoy like being in supply chain, being in e-commerce and company, and looking into those challenges and trying to fix them.
So, what were your key professional achievements throughout the journey you've covered up till now?
I think I was good in computer science. I think I was probably one of the first few people who got job after graduating at that time. It was a big thing at that time because I mean, ILM was growing at that time. There was a lot of institutes around. Getting a job, like being like in the first 2-3 months was a good thing. When I went to Sweden, I completed my degree. Even getting an odd job in Sweden was a little harder, but I got a job in management area in Sweden at Volvo. Construction equipment, that was the name. It's not Volvo Cars, that's a different company. So that was something which was like different. I mean, in technology, it's easy to get a job because we have technical knowledge, but in the management, it's a little harder because the language in Sweden is not English, it's Swedish. I mean, I was not speaking Swedish though, I mean, like just barely. But it was an international company, so it was easier to get jobs over there. Easier, but I was probably one of the few people who had that. Other people, they just moved around, they went somewhere else, did their PhD or from some other country, or came back to Pakistan. So I was one of those people. So I feel like that's sort of like I was lucky, not achievement. I was lucky maybe. So that was a good one. And then I was a high performer throughout my career as well. So whatever, even like now, I think I have a passion for work. I mean, I spend a lot of hours now as well, not 12 hours a day, but enough that I can I stay like
Top on the list.
Yeah, top of the list. So try to do that. And I have a good team as well, so that makes it much more easier as well. So
You've mentioned your team. So, what do you think, being the senior manager, what is the importance of having a good team, and how a leader or a manager works with the team, and how all the process goes hand in hand?
I think the culture is very different in US compared to 20 years ago when I worked here in Pakistan. Maybe it changed here as well. I think it's more democratic type of a thing. You need to make a consensus on things. Even you can make a call. Sometimes I do make a call and say that this is how we want to do it. But most of the times, I would say 99% of the times, it's more like, okay, what do we need to do? And you have to trust your team to make better decision. Work-life balance is also something I really spend a lot of time to make sure that the team is not like burnt out, because that just put like negative impact on the team as well, and giving them opportunity to grow in their career as well. So looking into where they are, setting the right expectations, but not like burning them out. I think that's one of the things, especially in today's world. This year, last year, things are changing very quickly. So you have like maybe 10 jobs in your hand type of thing. So how you can retain your employees and and making sure that they're growing in their career as well, and they are happy where they are, type of a thing. So that's a challenge, and it's a good skill to have as well at the same time.
And so, what is the difference between the traditional supply chain and the virtual supply chain? What are the major key changes?
So the way we do traditional supply chain, it's not very virtual supply chain is more efficient and effective. You can make it's more flexible as well. You can adapt very quickly to the changes. I can give you a few examples with that. So when we had this pandemic, there were a lot of shifts in terms of people. They were buying out things all the way from toilet papers to I don't know what, bicycles and all that. I mean, they were all wiped out. They were out of stock and all that. So how you can still manage and stay in the business when things are not around? What about we used to sell masks and hand sanitizer as well? They were out of stock as well. How you can manage? Now you got a small stock. How are you gonna sell that? Are you gonna sell to consumer? Are you gonna sell to first aid, first responders? So those were the challenges and all that. So how quickly you can change your decision making? I think in virtual supply chain is much more quicker. Another example of that is you have so many DCs, distribution centers, warehouses. If one is closed due to pandemic, how you can still run the business? In virtual supply chain, it's much more easier to make a shift and make a switch and all that. From transportation perspective, if something happened in one hub from UPS or FedEx or someone, how you can quickly adapt and quickly change your carrier, your transportation carrier. So that is the flexibility of moving around, and it's much more quicker in virtual supply chain versus or you can say digital supply chain or virtual supply chain versus the traditional supply chain. Traditional supply chain, you have one DC, one carrier. If something happens, too bad, or
you're restricted to that particular.
You are restricted to that, and it's not as easy to even shift. Even you can have a deal with another DC to move the product around, and also to make a shift systematically. It's going to be really hard. One thing that we do good about, if you ask about Zoro, I don't know if that's the question in your list or not, but we don't hold inventory at Zoro. We are dropship company. So the customer places an order, it goes all the way to the supplier, and they fulfill the order on our behalf. So we can expand very quickly because we are not holding inventory. If we hold inventory and we have multiple DCs,
then there will be some liability on the company.
Then there's a liability, there's a holding cost, and there's you need to make sure what is in stock, what is out of stock, and all. There are advantages of doing that, but I think we are more liberal in terms of how many suppliers do we need to add, how many SKU items.
But isn't it a bit time taking if you're not holding the stock and you have to communicate it to the supplier?
It's all system through, so it's a system information flow. So order comes in through the system, we pass that over to the supplier, they fulfill on our behalf for the customer. In most of the cases that. And our parent company is Grainger, is one of the big industrial supply company, and most of the orders, they go to them. So they are sort of our company, but they are not Zoro. They are our parent company, and they manage most of the inventory that we have.
Being in the e-commerce business, what do you think is the key point or key success point to maintain a healthy relation with your client?
I think the on-time delivery is very important in terms of being in e-commerce, and also keeping the quality good. There are so many e-commerce websites, you can buy thing and it's not, you check on the image and it seems like it's what you need, but at the end what you get is not what you
it's
what
totally
you
a different thing.
Yes. So keeping that expectation, setting those expectations, making sure that if a customer is not happy about it, they can return. I don't think in Pakistan it's a big thing. In America we have depending on the category what you're selling or segment that you're selling, in average it's maybe between 5 to 10% return that every company expect to come back. So how are you going to manage that? How are you going to make sure if a customer bought a huge letter and they didn't like it, it was broken, for example, how are you going to return that product back? You need to set up a time with the carrier. It's probably going to take 2 days. So if I have a house and it's sitting in front of my house, I'm little concerned that like it's sitting outside, it's raining, or I cannot like secure, make sure that it's still there and all that. So how that experience is going to work. So there are complexities. So how we can make sure is that on-time delivery, right expectation with the customer, good customer service, and no hassle returns. So those are like few of the things that, I mean, there could be a few more if I think a little more, but those are.
Okay, and how Zorro is different from its competitors? What is the key element which distincts Zorro from its competitors?
So one of the core values that we have is customer obsession. So that is something that we want to make sure our customer service is all US based. So we don't have outsourced the customer service because we think that the connection that we can build from that perspective is pretty good and we can relate to the customer. We have no hassle returns, means that if you don't like it, you want to return it, you can return it at any time without any cost to you, which is huge. There is a huge transportation hurdle or like transportation pressure that we have. But we still take that cost and make sure that the customer is satisfied from that perspective as well. So that the other thing that we have is that we don't hold inventory. Holding cost is a huge factor in any company. We have like 7.5 million items that we sell. If we have to start like carrying those ones, it's going to be like more than $1 billion of holding inventory that we need to do. But luckily, I mean, the way our business model is, we don't have that holding cost as well. So that makes us more successful as well compared to our competition. Anyone can do e-commerce. Like Daraz, I don't know if they hold inventory, but if they hold inventory, there's a holding cost that they have as well. Same goes with Amazon and all those. But in some cases they also have dropship as well. But that's I think it's pretty good business model that we have.
And how do you incorporate quality management in the business?
Same thing. So quality, it's from the customer need to customer satisfaction. That's like a very generic, high level. So we want to make sure that what is customer looking for. A lot of orders still we have. It's an e-commerce company. Customers can still call and they can make sure like I have this big machine and I need attachment. Would this work? And our customer service will give them more like tailored solution. So really making sure, really connecting with the customer, trying to make sure like what they want and how we can satisfy those type of things. So a lot of things are, I think the customer service is like a huge.
So we can summarize it in a way that customer relation is very important.
Customer relationship is the most important thing. I mean, if you're not helping customer to that, they will not come. There's so many options they have. If you just Google a product, you will have like 10, 20 different companies who can sell that. So how are you going to come back to Zorro? And the problem is like 10 times you go to the same store, you never had a bad experience. One time you have a bad experience, you will never gonna go back, or probably you're gonna. But one good experience, you will tell 10 of your friends, and that's how it grows. But I think the customer perception, it goes bad or good in very, very quick manner. So how we can make sure that our branding is really, really good.
And so what do you think COVID-19 ने किस तरह impact किया supply chain को? What was its impact on?
So many things. So we do all the we do all the things domestically. We don't do imports from outside, but indirectly there are imports, right? So we don't hold inventory, but our suppliers who are managing it, they are bringing from somewhere. If it's not manufactured in US. But even if it's manufactured from US, there are some raw materials or something that is coming from somewhere. So there were delays. There were a lot of delays. I don't know how hand sanitizer and mask problem was here, but it was a huge challenge in US.
It was a challenge in Pakistan as well. Initially, we were not getting it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So this is what
and the quality of those type of things. So I mean, we sell those type of things. So it was disruptive. So we had a couple of times our warehouse, there were a few people, they got COVID positive, and then it was hard for us to like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to shut it down, or are we going to maintain and just like quarantine that person and rest we just run the business? A lot of times the ports, they got closed. A lot of times DCs got closed. So how are we going to manage that one? So number one, product out of stock. Number two, the DCs were closed. The hubs at transportation were closed. right now, the biggest pressure that we have right now is from the transportation perspective. Uh, because of the pressure, a lot of people, they're sitting home and they're ordering products in their home. That it's very hard to find a truck these days in US. It's very, very hard to find like drivers in US. I think the average age in US, the average age of drivers in US is like around 55 years of age. Young people, they are not getting into this, into driving. It's a hard job. You need to stay on the road the whole day, and it's not easy. So a lot of like those type of factors from DC, from inventory, from transportation perspective, like what the trend is going to be. Now we have this Delta variant. What is going to happen? Are people going to buy more? They were saying like I was reading some reports. They were saying that the Christmas shopping, do it now. Don't wait till the last minute. Toys are going to be out of stock. How are we going to manage toys? So people, they just buy it between like close to Christmas. I mean, they buy those type of things. How they're going to manage that one? Are they going to buy now? Is it going to be out of stock? It's going to be huge disruption if that happens. We don't sell toys, but just generally.
And what was the buying trend in the past lockdowns? Did it increase as people were at their homes, they were not going out? So what do you think, and what was the trend that did the buying pattern changed, and were the people buying more products during the lockdowns?
Yes, they were buying. They were stocking. There were so many things, even you don't need it. People were buying like a lot of like food, a lot of like the canned food and those type of things. They stocked up. Even like people, they stocked up for maybe months and maybe years. That even they didn't need it, because it was like really, really like hard to find things at that time. I have never seen anything like that. It was like a war condition type of thing when you go to store and see like things were all over.
People were stocking basically. They were unaware of the future.
Yeah, a lot of factors, and it's a lot of pressure. I mean, same as in Pakistan, a lot of people, they cannot afford it. Like they cannot, but they were doing it on credit cards. So how they're going to pay it back and all that type of stuff. So it was a hard time for sure for a lot of people.
And sir, during your PhD, you designed a curriculum, supply chain course. Yeah. How is it different from the traditional curriculum or the traditional courses which exist?
So I think it was traditional. I built traditional as well. A few things that I did was different because I had a connection with the industry as well. So I brought a lot of people from the industry to come and talk about different topics from the industrial perspective. So that was probably different, but I think in Sweden, a lot of times that is what happens. In here, I'm not sure what happens, but like I can talk about logistics. So people can, like students, they can go and they can read logistics chapter, but they can also get experience like what challenges that I am seeing and what opportunities and what good things in real time. So that helps like give them an idea. So that's something that I did. We did some warehouse trips as well, so tours. That was like 2 or 3 that we did in each course that we did that one. And the third thing we did was it was a really good case study that we did. It was very mathematical. That was, I think, really good for that the students. They did that one. The book I followed was the Logistics and Supply Chain by Patrick Johnson. He's a professor in the university where I studied in Sweden, from Chalmers. It was a really good book. It's not like just talking and just like sharing like what is demand and what's supply, but really like practicing it in the real life. So that was what I did. Maybe there are better professors, there are better curriculum than what I had, but it worked okay for me.
Okay, and so my last question, a very demanding one. You're the alumni of UMT. So how do you intend to support the current graduates of UMT? Do you have any plans for the students of UMT?
So I come, every time I come here, I try to come to UMT. Last time I came and I met with one of the professor here. So I try to connect, and I think we have a really good chapter, and what Ms. Rubina and Mr. Sajid they're doing. Really good connection that we have. We have different chapters. I think it's going really well. Any advice, anything that we can do, I can do. I mean, I'm more than happy to do that one. I try to still like build some connection, and we have a lot of communication that we go back and forth. What's happening at UMT and anything that I can do for sure.
And sir, I want you to give a message for the general people. It could be about anything. for our viewers and listeners?
So, few things that we did, and I think that's probably what we did 20 years ago, 25 years ago, was everything we were doing was like relying on like group, like, okay, we need to apply out like abroad. The whole group of friends has to apply, but every person has their own skill that they can do, and it's very unique. So I would say that go and try on your own, and you will find new friends there. But don't get stuck, and don't like just stay there and wait for other friends to do the same thing. We don't need crowd. We need like every person has a unique skill set that they can do. So I would say that I think that's going to be beneficial if you do that way as well.
So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience with us. So viewers, this is all for today. We had Hassan Qureshi with us. We were discussing his career, we were discussing his educational journey, and we were learning from his experiences. See you next time with some new topic and some new guest. I'm your host Abdul Muid Malik. Allah Hafiz.